One. And a very good evening, everybody, and very, very warm welcome to our Lyceum night. This is a regular night on a Saturday night at 7 p.m. GMT, and the topic is about different aspects of spiritualism. So we've had some absolutely wonderful guests and guest hosts as well take these evenings. I'm very glad to be back. I've had the last 2 weeks, things have been going on here, but the wonderful Jack has been able to step in and cover me. But I'm back, so how wonderful. And I have the lovely Sandra Mitchell Aetheris with me tonight. Good evening, my darling.
Good evening, everybody. Nice to be back.
Yeah, how wonderful, how wonderful. Thank you. Thank you so much for giving this time and this hour to talk about things. Now, we're both in a fairly unique position, and we will get on to the topic of tonight because we have both held posts within churches or centres on committees, and we are both working mediums also. Because tonight's topic is the challenges we face as working mediums. So it's quite nice that we can both see it from both sides of the fence. Now, we're not going to have a negative night. So everybody listening, please, we are not going to be, and we most certainly don't name individuals or organizations. We just talk about we're working mediums, and very much a public perception, isn't it? People want to be us. And this is not without any ego or anything. People think, oh, that's right, I want to be doing that. I want to be doing that. Well, tonight we're just going to talk about the whole package. Apart from the 8 or 10 years you need to develop, but also the whole package. So, Sandra, my darling, what's your general thought? Do you think that churches and centres overall actually, I'm going to be careful of my wording here, actually respect and care for their visiting demonstrators all the time?
I think 99% of them do.
Mm-hmm.
I think that I know that I was on a committee, and I know that I ran a centre for 10 years, and I know how important it is how the medium is received when they enter the church or they enter the centre. That there was, as a chairperson in a church, I know that if I was the chairperson that night, it was my job to make sure they were made welcome. Yeah. They were offered a cup of tea. They were asked if they wanted to go in the choir. They were asked if what type of music they'd like. And even, we're going to get on to different things with this. I know I'm like a politician. I go from one thing to the other. Sorry. So that's not your exact question, but I will get back to it if I remember. And it's our job as a chairperson to make sure the medium feels comfortable, relaxed. Sometimes you get the fledglings come up or the new ones come up, and it's our job to make sure that they are, some would even say to me, oh, I'm so nervous, blah, blah, blah. And then it's up to us to help them become more relaxed and to give them that little bit more confidence before they actually get up onto the platform. It's up to the church or centre, the chairperson, to make sure that the congregation is well informed on how to behave.
Yeah.
Mobiles are turned off, and that no talking after messages, but all done in a nice way.
Yeah.
It's up to the chairperson to make sure that they present themselves well. And also, if there is talking within the congregation or the centre, that we very politely ask them to be quiet so they're not interfering with the medium while they're working.
Yeah.
It's not up to the medium to become really aware of it to the point that they're distracted and they have to say, I'm sorry, can you please be quiet? Or You know, I usually make a joke if it happens, and I usually say, "Oh, I can't tell. Is that spirit speaking or is that someone else speaking?" But it's all done very nicely. Okay.
Yeah.
And it's a really important job, and it makes the medium feel so much better as well.
Yeah.
Also, sometimes there you have new members of the congregation come in, or the centre. They've never been to a spiritual church at all, and they don't know how to respond. And it's nice to ask if anybody's new, and just do a little bit of explaining to them.
Yeah.
And it really helps everything flow. But also, I think, to me as a medium, when I go into a church, the music is really important, because it uplifts everything, and it uplifts. I mean, a good old sing song, I always say, really goes down well. And sometimes you can go into a church or a centre, not so much the churches, usually the centres, and it's just you come in and you sometimes, not often, you're not even offered a cup of tea because they're not for whatever reason, and there's no music playing, and it's just okay, Sandra, you've got the floor. And then you say, well, shall I do an opening prayer? And they go, oh, yeah, if you want to do an opening prayer. And it's almost like the energy starts off flat.
Yeah. Yeah.
I actually went to a centre many years ago, and it was Christmas time, and the chairperson started talking about sad things. She started crying. The whole congregation was made really sad.
Right.
I started laughing because of this situation. And I said, oh my God, I said, you've got to stop crying. We've got to bring upliftment, you know, be happy, spirit, be happy. So that's another thing as well. I could tell some stories, I tell you. So, so it's, on the whole, I think we are treated very, very well.
Yeah.
It's just the odd 1 or 2%. And I think it's because they don't understand.
Yeah, that is very fair. My background, in part of it, is in training, and we had this old training adage. It's like the goalkeeper; they make 99 really good saves, but the one that they let through is the one that everybody will remember. And it is true, and it is true on our route as working mediums. That you brought up so much there. I want to go back through it. You mentioned about fledglings. Now, recently, this was in my mind about people who are just starting out on the platform, because, in my opinion, I was brought up with the very old school mediums, and very privileged to, and they would take me out on the platform with them. I may be allowed to do one message, I may be allowed to do one prayer, and then I may be allowed to do the philosophy. And if you were asked to do the philosophy, you knew you were doing something right. Because that step in between development and taking a service, there seems to be a little bit of work required, because you're going from a circle environment nowadays. You're going from a circle environment, you may get up and do a couple of fledgling nights. People will go, oh, they're good, we'll book them. Well, the next thing, suddenly you're up there, you've got to do the opening prayer. You got to find a reading. You got to deliver the address upon that. You've then got to do 45 minutes of evidential reading. Why do we have to do that? I never know. So you've got to hold that energy for like an hour and 20 minutes or an hour and a half from scratch. Now, I think we need to maybe work on looking at different types of services here and changing the format slightly, changing the makeup of the service, changing the duration of the service to start, because, you know, we new mediums coming in of quality are getting a little bit thin on the ground, sadly. But yeah, that's a really good thing to bring up there.
When I had a strange start on from the churches, because I never even thought about it. I didn't think I'd ever work in the church, because, believe it or not, I was quite shy. And
so
I was absolutely petrified. I didn't want to get up there. Yeah. And I worked for sort of like 15 years or 10 years on one-to-ones at home. So I think I built up my toolbox. I honed in my skills. And but the way I worked at home was completely different to how I would eventually work on platform. So I could do what I wanted to at home. I could work with spirit, I could work on the psychic, but then again, I was learning all my skills. And I always remember that I had a phone call from a church, and they said, "Will you go on platform and help us this Sunday?" And I went to say no, and yes came out of my mouth. Literally, I couldn't believe it. And I was like, "What's going on here?" And I always remember the first time I went up, I said, I've never done an address. What on earth is an address? I've never done an opening prayer. And they just literally threw me up into this packed church. It was like, and my leg was going up and down, shaking so much because I didn't have a clue. And so I was, because I was normally working a one-to-one. I'd never, worked in front of so many people. My prayer was very simple. My address was, my mum was in hospital at the time, and I just said, could everyone please send healing out to my mum because she's not very well. The chairperson, it was hilarious really, he just turned around and looked at me like that because I sat back down. I didn't have a clue.
Yeah.
And then I mean the clairvoyance was fine. I didn't have a problem. Once I started with that, it just went boom the whole evening. But I was thrown into it. And but I don't know. I think it's hard for fledglings now. I think they need to keep practicing within the group or within the churches or even home circles are actually excellent to learn. And when I ran home circles, we used to practice. We used to bring people into my home and then say 15, and then we used to get the fledgling to stand up and do a mock church scene or a centre scene, and then practice until they felt more confident.
It's very true, and quite a few of us, I think, had that baptism of fire. We were in the wrong place at the right time. I can see, and very good evening to everybody who's joining us, and a lot of mediums in the room tonight, I'm very pleased to say. But there's a lovely guy, Yanis, who's in the room. And I know.
Hi, Yanis.
He's a smashing guy, but he, again, was another that suddenly he was up on platform, somebody counselled or whatever. Now, the mediums who get through that is one thing. But my concern here is how many mediums do we lose because of that? And I've seen instances of people going, oh my God, I can't, because we put so much pressure onto medium, and we have this generic terminology of talking about mediums. I work slightly differently, and I might get hung for this, but never mind, I can run very fast. We have different mediums. We have exceptional church mediums who can take a church service, everything, and do that wonderfully, but may struggle with a dem. We have excellent demonstrating mediums because yourself, you've got that gift of, actually, you've got the wonderful gift that you can do the two, that you can hold a room full of people's attention for an hour or hour and a half sometimes. Andy Bing actually put out something the other week, and I thought, oh, that's interesting. He said, no mediumship demonstration should last longer than an hour. And I thought, good on you, good on you. But yeah, we do put a lot of pressure on. But as we progress, as our skills and the demand for us progresses, I am seeing, as I'm sure a lot of other people, that the pressures on the working medium seem to be getting greater. We're constantly, and I know I've had this conversation with yourself, if a church phones up and saying, can you do so and so, instead of just going yes, because that's our default thing, yes, why don't we start saying, well, leave it with me, I'll have a think about it, and look at and balancing our workload a little bit more. I know that on Facebook, if you follow people, you will see their posts. So I've started following centres and churches to get a better picture. But I am seeing this picture of the same people. We're working like 3 or 4 times a week. And I just think, That's interesting.
I can I speak? Sorry, it's okay
Well,
to go.
I had to get a bit in there, my love. In between
No,
your.
no, it's the foreigner in me, right? So yeah. No, I forgot what I was going to say now. You put.
Oh, there we go.
I found when I very first started, I enjoyed it so much. I absolutely loved it with a passion, and if I could do an hour, I could do an hour and a half. I was so enthusiastic. I was blah blah blah. But as time goes on, and you do other spiritual work as well, because I do a lot of one-to-one readings and different types of work. I find it sometimes very tiring. And I agree with who put up for an hour. I mean, I get very tired, and you know what it's like. Your energy drops.
Yeah.
There's hardly anything there more, and then you stop and you look up at the clock and you think, oh, it's another 20 minutes to go. And then so you look at the chairperson thinking they understand, and I say, what time do we finish? And they go, oh, if you can do another 3 or 4 messages, that would be nice.
Yeah.
And then we feel obliged, and I don't know why we haven't got the strength as mediums just to say, well, I have to stop now. We're not thinking of ourselves, and we're trying to people please all the time. We're not stopping, and we're not thinking of ourselves. And I will tell a little story, and I try to be as positive as I can. Okay. I did a church service a couple of years ago, and new church to me, and I went there, and it was very, very busy. And I didn't get offered a cup of tea or the person who drove me there, which is strike number 1 to me. And then I did the I wanted to do an address even for 5-10 minutes, and they said to me that we'd rather you didn't, because there's so many people here, they really want messages. And I said, well, they can get messages from the philosophy as well. And it just so happened that one particular girl who just lost her mum, I told the story of my mum and how she went to the spirit world. And then because the chairperson decided that time was up, and because I was so busy giving messages, I didn't realize what the time was. I went on for 15 minutes longer than the time, and I looked up, and I was exhausted by then, absolutely exhausted. And I looked up and I realized the time, and I said, well, I'm going to stop. He said, oh, can you give a few more messages? And I said, no, sorry, I'm done now. But maybe we should be stronger as mediums and say, I'll try and do the hour, but if I can't do try and do the hour and a half, but my energy levels, if they drop at an hour, so be it.
Yeah.
We're trying our best. Maybe we should be the ones to say.
I thought I was going to get thrown off the platform recently. There is us in that demonstration as well. That not only our progression as mediums, our evolvement as mediums, but us as people. And I always like to finish on a high. If that last message is that high, you come out feeling on that high. You go home on that high as well. It comes with you. And I just delivered something, and I thought, yep. Thank you. Everything was right in line. That worked wonderfully. And I think we had 4 minutes to go. And I got the line of, oh, you got time for another one? And I said, well, if you wish to do another message, please be my guest and get up and deliver it.
I saw you do that the other night.
Came out of my mouth.
I'm going to remember that line. I thought it was brilliant, but you did it so nicely.
But yeah, because, as I said, it's very interesting. Since 2020, communication has improved. We're communicating this way tonight with yourself and so many people out there and across Europe as well. But mediums have been communicating with each other. And sort of like, because before, now our mediumship is a lone journey, the way it unfolds, the way we develop, but it needn't be alone. We should be able to converse with each other and talk about things, you know, and not go in for the kill on things, but just talk about things. And this is how I'm feeling, or have you felt like this, or have you had that?
All the time. I've always done it. I've always had certain mediums that I've been friends with for many, many years, and we ring each other up, and I'll say, "Oh my God, this happened. I was working with spirit, and then, you know, now they've changed the way they're working with me, or have my guides shifted? Have they changed? Or you know, because as we move forward, we evolve and we change constantly. It's a constant change of. I know for myself, working as a medium, it's a constant change, and so it's really, really nice to talk to other mediums and discuss it and talk about it, not in a competitive way, just in a caring way, helping each other out. You know, I mean, I might or they might have experienced that, and we can learn from each other, and that's really, really helpful to each other. And I was thinking about that today. Maybe we should have something like a Zoom event every like 6 months for all the mediums to get on there and discuss the bits and pieces that they're worried about or we are worried about. And I think that would be really, really, really helpful. And sometimes I'll get sort of younger mediums that will ring me up and talk about different things, and I'll advise them, you know, on how to do this. Not so much with their development, because I'm a great believer in that we evolve at our own pace and things like that, but more so giving advice on churches and centres. A lot of the younger ones nowadays, they won't stick to rules and regulations, and they find it very difficult to go into a church and listen to lots of prayers, and the songs are really important, you know.
Yeah.
I know they go in there, they listen to this music that's really out of date, and it really puts them off. And I think I'm going off in tangent now, aren't I?
No.
I think that, you know, we should move forward and accommodate the younger ones more than we are, rather than sticking to the old traditions all the time. And we should welcome them in and answer their questions. But also mediumship is moving forward. It's got to move forward. It's got to change the way, because those that go to the churches not only want to talk to their Auntie Sally or, you know, their dads or their mums, they're youngsters and who are in desperate need of guidance about their life.
Yeah.
You know, they don't know where to go. And so we can always bring through their loved ones very nicely, but also we can offer advice. We can offer advice through spirit and maybe a little bit of psychic here and there at the end. But as long as we let them know how we're working, this is modern mediumship. This is how it's going forward. And I feel that's what we need to do, because otherwise the church is just it's going to be harder for them.
Well, it's recognizing and acknowledging this need for everybody to evolve. And we as working mediums need to, I'll say this, we need to evolve our mediumship, but actually I will put the caveat in there that if you feel like I'm getting bookings, I'm doing services, what's the problem? That's absolutely fine. That is absolutely fine. That's not an issue whatsoever. But you do find mediums as well also go, yeah, that was good, but I know I can do better.
Well, it's called giving the carrot, isn't it? That's what spirit do. They give us the carrot and then they pull it, and we go and we're chasing the carrot all the time. Oh, sorry, I should have used a better word, but to me, it's like giving the carrot.
I'm going to see that on Sunday.
And it's not only that, it's when you work and you hit a height, don't you? And you feel, oh my God, you feel amazing that especially when you're working with philosophy and you hit a height and you just feel amazing. And then the next time you work, it drops down a little bit, or you find the communication just isn't the same. You either become complacent and go along with it, or you say, come on, spirit, I want more, I want more, I want more. And you go back for more and more. Yeah. But what I think a lot of the youngsters are asking nowadays is, it's okay us giving messages. It's okay us having the churches, but we're not telling them what the spirit world is like.
Yeah.
We're not talking about it. We're not evolving enough to talk about, you know, where did my sister go, or where did my daughter go? Where are they? why aren't we exploring that more? Why aren't we teaching out-of-body experiences? Why aren't we moving forward? Why are we staying still? That's what I feel a lot of the youngsters. And I think if we opened it up more, and we did that, I think we'd have a lot more, coming on, joining in.
Definitely. People want to engage more. I've got this thing. If you notice behind me on the platform, I've hidden the lectern because I don't want anything to be a barrier in front of me while I'm having a conversation with people. You've worked here physically, the morning service. It's a different approach. Some people say it's a bit disrespectful. Absolutely fine. I will take anything on the head. But a lot of people like it because it's involving the congregation. I'm not standing there talking to you, bow your head, stand up, sing this song, sit down, be quiet. And I when I go into churches and centres with that energy, I'm just like, bringing the congregation into the service. Yourself, we do the thing here, and it's something that was told to me, and I thought, I like that, I'm going to copy that. When it comes to the healing, people call out the names of people that want on healing, because again, they're brought in. The music is very upbeat. The actual atmosphere is still respectful, but it's a lot more relaxed. It's not stiff, it's not starchy, it's not formal. It doesn't appeal to everybody. However, we do, and I'm not bragging, have a very good attendance here at Paul. So it does work. Often I see in churches, they seem to react in one or two ways in some places. Either we've always done it this way, we're never going to change it. It works, even though we're down to 10 people now in the congregation, we're never going to change it. Or I'll keep changing it every 5 minutes, and then nobody knows where the hell they are and what's going on. They just give up on it. So we have a few comments coming in. Arisha, good evening. Saying, I like the old school of having two mediums on rostrum, one to do reading and address, the other to do the mediumship. This is my own view. Yeah?
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree, because I think some people are absolutely amazing at philosophy and they thrive on it, and they have such a beautiful, keep losing you. They have such a beautiful link with the spirit world, the philosophers and everything. And there's some amazing mediums out there, and that maybe they're not so comfortable with philosophy. And it's hard work to stand up there for 15 minutes. That's another point I wanted to make. Some places, they demand, that you do philosophy for 20 minutes or 25 minutes. Well, I know I like to talk sometimes, but, I couldn't keep it up for that long. I mean, I just, when I first started, I used to go to the Baker Foundation in Spain. I was going there for 14 years, and they were a husband and wife team. She was the medium and he was the philosopher.
Lovely.
And that's how it used to be. And they worked amazingly together. And I don't see the problem with it. I think it's really good. I don't see the problem with having two up on the rostrum.
Yeah, no, I agree. And especially in those very formative days of people starting out on their venture onto working on platforms, if you can team up with somebody to split that service, not only are you reducing that pressure, so you're going to have less time of work, so hopefully the quality will improve. But also you've got that companionship, because that trip to the church or the centre, and especially with a new church, I know we've both got stories of going to new places and standing there thinking, well, if somebody doesn't talk to me in 5 minutes, I'm just going to go and get the train home again, because this is pants. This is seriously wrong. But yeah, and supporting each other, because we need to support, and we need to value our mediums. And honour the years of development they put in to stand up there in front of people. The amount of money they've spent to stand up there in front of people, be it on petrol, going to and from circle, workshops, maybe week courses, etc., etc. And sadly, we do sometimes come across this energy, and people sat there going, well, they weren't very good. Well, if you don't think they're very good, please get up there and do better.
That's people. We all judge, I think. We all do. We all have an opinion on mediumship, and that's life, isn't it? I mean, and it's like if oh no, I'm not going down that road. I'm going to say something.
Okay. I trust your decision.
So it's true. That's what it's all about. And this is what we fall into, this place of trying to please everybody, and we want the best for the congregation. And sometimes it's hard work, and it's the body language that puts the medium off. It shouldn't put the spirit off, but it's us, our own personal things coming into it. You sit there and you go to someone, it's like they can't take it, they got their arms crossed, and it's almost like, prove it. Yeah, possibly.
Yeah,
you know, all this, and it's very difficult for the medium to. That's why I say when they come into the congregation, the chairperson try to sort of educate them and help them how to respond to the mediums.
Yeah, very true. Going back over to the question, Stuart Latimer, I think the word church should be dropped nowadays, is sending the wrong message. It'd be quite interesting to hear what message that's sending to you, Stuart. What do you think?
Do you want to go first? No, it doesn't bother me personally. It doesn't bother me. I mean, I'm a lot of the things that go on. I mean, I'm quite old school. Sorry, that's Boo Boo in the background.
Boo Boo.
That's my dog. A lot of things that go on. No, that I quite like the fact I'm going to a church, actually, you know, or a centre. I mean, what should they be called? All centres.
Yeah.
You know, I like tradition. I like the Lord's Prayer. I love the Lord's Prayer.
And again, we're bringing people together. Yeah. Yeah, no disrespect, Stuart, but it was Tim Abbott that brought this up, and I thought, quite right. You know what? In spiritualism, many years ago, before it was a recognized religion, there was a huge effort at the turn of the century of spiritualists at the time to lobby Parliament to raise petitions and everything to get spiritualism recognized as a religion. Therefore, we can have a church, because if you are not a recognized religion, you cannot have a church. It's as simple as that. So I do understand that some people have issues with the word church based on previous life experiences with the more the more orthodox religions. However, I always say, just go in the doors and find out what it's like. And if it sings to you, great. If it doesn't, great. Well done for going in and trying it. I mean, the name over the door, is what I'm finding beyond that door. That's the important thing. But thank you for putting that up, Stuart. It's just following up there. I think it's slightly outdated, and I do know it puts people off. Again, what Sandra said there. So what can you call it instead? You know, I see in this movement there was a great sort of like purge almost a few years back to change churches into centres. And in nearly every case, the minute they had changed from being called a church into a centre, they celebrated it with a divine service with a minister from wherever to take it. And I'm just like, hang on a minute.
Yeah, Andy. Sorry.
Yeah, carry on. It's your evening.
It's not only that. It's when you have a church, it's used for that purpose. So the energy builds up within that church, and as soon as you walk in, you feel spirit, because it's the energy is built up over so many years, and a lot of the centres are used for other purposes as well.
Yeah.
So I think affects the energy. You know, within a centre, you find that a lot of the centres because I ran a centre and I know myself, so I'm not putting down other centres, that I used to go in an hour before and play the music, you know, to lift the energy there, and I used to do as much as I could. But you find that in well, nearly all churches, the energy is there for you. As soon as you step in there, you feel spirit around you. You step on that rostrum and the spirit comes in straight away. So I think churches are excellent.
Yeah, thank you. And it is true. We both experienced where we would go and work for a group somewhere who would be holding their service in a community hall. I was working probably about 4 months ago, and halfway through I got this link and the woman couldn't take it, and I said, I'm sorry, I know I've got people sat around and we're talking about drug addiction and how to get over it as a help group. Nobody would take it. Afterwards the lady said, well, actually they do a group to support people with drug dependency in this room in the morning of the night of the service. And I thought, that's where I was. I was there.
That's the only drawback with the centres, because it's used for other things as well.
Yeah. Colin Walker, good evening, sir. Hello. Do you have any thoughts on what is beyond mediumship? I need a bit of clarity on that. I'm not sure about you, but
I think what he's talking about, and I may be wrong, and I apologise if I am, but I have a certain thing that I'm going through. I've been going through for a long time. I have clients asking me, well, where is my loved one? What is happening? You know, where are they? You know, what are they doing? You know, how do they exist? How do you know? You know, do you go there? Do you experience it yourself? Do our loved ones talk about it to you? And sometimes I think we're so not obsessed, we're so conditioned with giving the message. Yeah. But we're not, as I said before, and this is no offense to anybody, we're not listening to them really to say what it is like, where they are. We're not questioning it. We're not moving forward with it. We're not, we're not teaching the clients or the congregation how to do it themselves. So they can actually link in with their loved ones rather than the medium doing it, you know, for them all the time. So, that's I see it going forward. Spirituality, in that we should be training. I would like to train astral. I would like to move forward in that, so people can actually experience spirit world themselves. They can go into the fifth dimension. You know, they're able to go anywhere they want to do, and to see their loved ones at will. You know, that's what I think should happen, via getting messages in trance, or you know, you've got the books like White Eagle and different things, and they talk about it through a guide. You know, we should be experiencing it ourselves.
Yeah, no, that's good, interesting. I go the polar opposite on that, because I go backwards. Do you have any thoughts on what is beyond mediumship? Again, we need to really look at our terminology, and we need to get a bit pedantic about it. We need to start, in my opinion, we need to be talking about evidential mediums, philosophical mediums, healing mediums, and really sort of like take apart what has just become the generic blob over the last 30 years and share that information with people attending in whatever capacity, to start to split things. I was ever so pleased. One of my congregation a few months ago said to me, I think I might have upset somebody on Facebook. And I said, well, join the club, love. I'm doing that every day. She said, but no, I was approached by an online medium on Facebook to do, offering me a sitting for only £50, bargain. She hadn't instigated this, it just came up. And she said, oh yeah, I could do with an evidential sitting. And the woman just sort of like disappeared. I'm so proud of you, well done. But yeah, I think, any thoughts on what is beyond mediumship? I think we really need to get to grips of understanding the whole message of the different types of mediumship. And because there's so many avenues that we can explore, so many wonderful, trance mediumship, physical mediumship. There is so much out there. And get away from this generic, oh, I've got your mother here, that's a medium, So, Colin's just popped in. Sorry, I meant, will there be a point when messages will cease to be the norm within spiritualism? Do you have any thoughts on what will follow? Sandra.
Lawrence.
Sandra.
Lawrence. I'll think about that one. Give me 10 minutes.
Well, Sandra touched on this, and it's been something in my mind of late about spirit want this awareness of cats getting on your lap. If we can teach that awareness of spirit, you may not see, you may not hear, but you just know your mother's there, you know your father's about, you know your husband's there. I mean, that's going to start doing away with the need of going to see evidential mediums and having evidential sittings so often. I'm not going to say it's going to get rid of it totally, because we are a continual movement and there will always be people coming in through the doors who need that. But it should, spiritualism should be seen as a progressive journey, Colin. Once you've had, I'll say this to people, once you've had your evidence, once you've had that cinching bit of proof that whoever has proven to you through a medium that they continue on in an existence, what then? What do you want then? How's that going to affect you? And how's that going to affect you how you live this life? And how's that going to affect you with your relationship with the spirit world? Because it's not all about giving a message. The spirit are quite happy. People can be great homemakers. They can be great healers, negotiators, politicians, dare I say. All sorts of things, because we're getting into that inspiration. If we lived in that inspirational world linked with spirit, I think we would see a very, very different world. Are you ready?
Yeah. I forgot now. I had it all prepared in my mind. Now it's gone. Now, I think if we give a lovely evidential message to somebody, and it really helps them, it sparks something off within them that they want to explore. So we're doing our job well. We're expanding spirit. We're helping spirit. And sorry, it went off again. We're helping them, and I think they start to explore themselves. All about spiritualism, all about God, and all different things along that line. So I remember when I first started, I was really enthusiastic. I wanted to prove spirit were here to help others with their grief and to help them move forward in their beliefs. So, and I think that with a good evidential message or philosophy or whatever you want to call it, it sparks something off in the person you're giving the message to, and then they start thinking about spirit. They start thinking about where their loved ones are, and then they start exploring within themselves.
Yeah. And I think that is really good. That is beyond the mediumship. The mediumship is sort of like, I'll use your word, the carrot. They go, here you go. Now, what are you going to do with that? I say to people, please don't go to churches and centres or DEMs to be like you're sitting down watching something on Netflix. Get into that experience, feel that energy in the room, experience that time, because that is what spiritualism is. It is an experience. It's not a pay-per-view thing that you just sit there and totally disconnected from it. It's like listening to music. I know you're a music lover, as am I. Some bits of music, great. I was hoovering away to The Greatest Showman today, having a whale of a time. Other bits of music, I can fly. I soar. I feel it. And this is that energy that I'd like people to start to experience going to wherever they follow their path. That to be part of it, to feel that upliftment, that euphoria, that presence. You know, this is what we talk about, the presence of spirit. And once that touches you, you know, what are you going to do about it? Don't just think, oh, that was lovely. You know, what I always say to people, please don't be a 90-minute spiritualist where you go to church and everything's lovely and it's all love and light and yes, I'm a wonderful person. You walk out the door and you think, right, well, that part's, you know, that door's shut. Now I'm going to go back to being a complete so-and-so and I'm going to run people over in Asda and things like that because I really don't give a damn. It's more than that. It's about you and living in this beautiful world. Get off my soapbox. Over to you, Sandra.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about something. About the. Do you remember many years ago? They used to have a newspaper called the Psychic News. I think.
Oh, yeah.
Remember,
Yeah.
I mentioned to you earlier, and they had two reporters going around to all the churches, and they were doing write-ups on the mediums. And sometimes, you know, they just weren't very kind. I was quite like, oh my God, I hope they don't turn up on my platform. And I remember driving to Norwich Church, and it was horrendous weather, and I was late because of the snow and the weather and everything, and I got there and it was absolutely heaving, and I it's a huge church. I don't know if you've ever been there, and it's a beautiful church. It's an old school type church, and I ran up there. I was about 10 minutes late, and I thinking, the opening prayer had been done, and I had to do the philosophy, which I was all flustered. It was just straight going up there. But what I didn't know, there was two reporters in the congregation. I thought, trust my luck. All right. There's two reporters, and they did a write-up on me. Thankfully, it was okay. It was quite good. But I was surprised that I wasn't warned about it. I don't know if the church knew about it. You know, that the two reporters from the Psychic News are actually in the congregation. But do you think that's a good thing? Do you think that makes mediums more nervous or aware, and we up our ante, as they say?
Yeah, no, because it's a very subjective view. It depends on the reporter's point of view about things.
Yes.
You know, we know, don't we? What's the worst thing anybody ever asks us? Can you recommend a good medium? You know, when people say that to you, it's like, oh, geez. Listen, my good mediums may not be your good mediums. I can recommend these people because I know they're professional, they've got integrity, I know they do that. How that sitting is going to go between you and them is in the hands of others, not me. And we're going to get the same with that. And also there is a hugely destructive energy in there, because again, where we were talking about people just beginning that journey. Can you imagine? You've put yourself out, you've got up there, you've flustered a couple of times, which is perfectly natural in the early days. And then in a newspaper comes out a report saying how god awful you were. What? You know, they're going to be the next messages, bless them.
Probably didn't go up back on platform. Probably destroyed.
Yeah, that would be. There was a organisation doing a competition and asking for various voting on different things, and I didn't agree with that either. And I actually wrote in and said, please preclude my name from any of this, because I don't want to be any part of this. I'm trying to bring people, mediums together and people together, and I don't want anything that can actually drive a bloody great big wedge in between that. You know, I just think, no, we are the only people really that we can trust and have these earnest talk with is our peers. Now, sometimes we may find those working in churches and centres, which is a plus. sadly, sometimes not, because there may be that lack of knowledge. But if we are talking as fellow medium to fellow medium with somebody I trust, I'm looking down the list there today and there's 4 names in. Hello, Bill, lovely Bill Rich. We will quite often sit there and have a good talk about things, and we're not having a bitch. We're not going, who the bloody hell do you, you know, we're not doing that energy whatsoever. You know, sort of like, have you seen this? What do you think of that? Or we may see each other work and go, oh, I like that. I like the way you've just introduced that. Thank you, I'm having that. And vice versa.
That's right.
But yeah, to have, you know, and what would be the qualification of these people? I would insist that they would be people who put the money where the mouth is, and they stand up and regularly demonstrate. But I think once we get into that energy, if people regularly demonstrate, they'll probably say, no, actually, I don't want that job because that's idiots. I wouldn't like anybody doing it to me, so I'm certainly not doing it to somebody else.
Yeah.
Yeah. There we go, just a case in point. Arisha, just saying, she was left distraught by another medium in her early days. Thanks, Spirit, for other support I received from others at that time. You know, we are sensitives. You know, even before we get to our church and engagement, wherever it is, our sensitivity is already starting to become manifest. We will pick up crud from other people. We will, you know, and the last thing you want is when you're going out to do whatever engagement it is with the spirit world, is to come against, you know, hard negative energies, because they are a real punch of the solar plexus. They really do.
I think as mediums we're extremely sensitive, and we do pick up a lot of energies, you know, like we walk in a room, but with people as well. I always remember being told by a medium that I would never amount to much, and I was to sort of give it up. And it's good that I got a strong personality.
Is that what you're calling it?
And if someone puts me in a corner, I always come out fighting, as they say.
Yeah.
But I at the time, I was quite, hit me in the solar plexus, definitely, really affected me. And I mean, even that little comment, it could have destroyed somebody, and they would have walked away, a newcomer, which I was, I suppose, and they could have walked away from it. But sorry, my dogs are having a fit downstairs. So
the Amazon man.
It's all our sensitivity, and sometimes, you know, I can go through months of being really happy and everything's great, and then other mediums must feel the same, where it just all gets too much for them, and they feel, oh, I need to stand back, or do I really want to do this, or so things like that happen as well. And yeah, no,
it's very true. There's a medium in the room tonight. I won't go into the details. However, we were in each other's company when a third party contacted, who should have known a lot better, and was straight in with allegations which were totally untrue. And we just looked at each other and went, whatever happened to a medium supporting other mediums, eh? Yeah, how bad was that? It does happen, sadly. And quite often it's just rooted in jealousy, fear, or whatever, but it's just not on. It really is not on. Bill Rich, going back to a topic from earlier, maybe when you have that proof, I think then you create faith and belief in your own life, your own journey.
I know that's quite true, but I know with myself that I do get. Are you talking about somebody you're giving a message to, or personally? As a medium, because I know that sometimes. Sorry, Lawrence, go on. No, sorry, Lawrence. No, I know as a medium personally, and I know that my mediumship has always been very up and down, with being too sensitive, being over emotional over things, and everything else. And I did go through a stage, I don't know, I think it was about 12 years ago, where I was working so much, giving so many messages, I felt that it was all for everybody else and not for me, and I needed spirit to prove to me that I was, that they were actually there. So obviously they did, and then you get really, really confident that you're working with spirit, and then I do it. I do it over every so often. I need that reassurance that they're backing me. They're 100% there. I know everyone says, well, you should have faith in spirit. We do, but we're human as well.
Yeah.
We're not. We're human. We have our doubts about our mediumship, about our beliefs, our faith. Every so often, it gets wobbly here and there, and so it's just getting back on track. I think. I hope I've answered that right.
No, it's very good. Bill there was picking up on the earlier topic, I believe, where we were talking about churches, yay or nay, and things like that. And it's very true, because this reflects also as our paths as working mediums. When we first started working with the other world, we had these thoughts, ideas on how things worked and how it's going to work and what will happen. But as we progress and as we continue working and continue developing, these things really change. They really do change, and it's just being part of that change. So that's where Bill's saying you create that faith and belief in your own life, your own journey, because that is what it all boils down to.
That's right.
Is the journey. This was what it's all about. I always say to people, we go looking for the answers all the time, but actually that answer can only be found by going through the journey. I bring in the old thing, if a medium says to you, oh, you're going to be a millionaire in a year's time, well, you risk then you could go back home, sit on your backside for a year thinking, oh, that's right, I'm going to be a millionaire. And at the end of the year, you're not a millionaire. And you think, well, what went wrong? Well, actually, the message was, you're going to be a millionaire in a year's time if you continue working and building and doing this and doing that. But that bit gets, because it is that journey. We can't give that end point. We can give an indication, a hint. If you continue on the way you're going, I see a wonderful path ahead of you. But the people are looking for that definitive answer, yes or no. And I find in the spirit world, even they don't have a yes or no, because you get one school of thought that says one thing and another school of thought that says something polar opposite, and you think, okay, which is right, but they're right for each other. That's the main thing. You've gone quiet. Stop going quiet on me. You're making me nervous.
Who's that, me?
Yeah.
I was listening to you. I was deep in thought.
Oh, all right.
I was just listening to you.
Sorry, just taking a comment here. Julie, lovely Julie Caswell. I haven't forgotten, darling. You are in my calendar to contact. And she's saying, I love mixing the old with the new. She uses a spirit box along with a Ouija board, but pointing out that the energy of spirit when communicating in this way. Julie's got a really strong little home circle, and it's family members. So I will point that out to people before you all start saying you shouldn't be using a Ouija board. It is in a home circle environment with experienced people. It's not one that we've just got from Toys R Us aimed at girls between 13 and 15, which was actually marketed. You've gone quiet again.
No, I was just thinking about that, because it is a lot of people have got a fear of Ouija boards, haven't they? And that goes back, that goes back many, many years. And I know people that have used Ouija boards and had some very unpleasant experiences with the Ouija board. Like they create the energy around the board or whatever, and then the glass flies off, and and things like that. And some people may think, whoopee, that's wonderful. A glass of just, it proves that spirit are there. But sometimes it can be very destructive, I think. And some people, when they use the Ouija board, I don't personally use it, but that's my own preference. There's a part of me thinks it's a little bit lazy, so I like to try and communicate myself. But that's no offense for anyone who uses them. But I think that I really, I think I've used a Ouija board once or twice, and it come through with some relevant information. It's a funny story. When I was living in Gibraltar, that's where my mum comes from, many years ago. We were, I was married to an army guy, okay, and we were put in a mobile home, and so we were right next to the rock, okay, and washing kept going missing off the line, and nobody knew who could take it. And every time people sat, people even said it's the monkeys coming down from the rock and taking the linen. You know, it was ridiculous. So one day we did the Ouija board to find out, because it was my washing that was going off the line. That was shit. Not knickers or anything. It was just shit.
Thank God for that.
Anyway, so we sat up one night and we did the Ouija board. There was 4 of us, and the people there, no one knew my dad was in spirit apart from my husband, all right? And I got a message from my dad, the most wonderful message it was, and I was really happy with it. And I was so frightened of the Ouija board, I wouldn't even sit on the table, because my mum always said, don't you go near that Ouija board, don't you touch it. So I was on the side of it, and it was coming through with some really nice messages. And then I sat there and I thought, and I shouted out, who's stealing the sheets off the line? Okay, and you know who they said was stealing the sheets off the line? The couple that we were doing the Ouija board with.
Oops.
It did. That's what it did. And we said, oh, it's a load of nonsense. But we stayed up the following night, all night, to put the washing out, who was stealing the sheets off the line. God, I've gone off on tangent, haven't I, about the story of the week. And we fell asleep and we missed, and the sheets were gone in the morning. So yeah, that's a funny story. But you do hear old wives' tales about people are frightened of it. People say it brings bad energy. You don't know who you're communicating with. But I think if you know what you're doing and you're experienced, it is a good tool, you know.
Keyword is a tool, and it is. Yeah. You don't put a 13-year-old behind a car, you know, a souped-up dragster. You don't put them behind the wheel of one of them, you know. And it's the same thing. It's like anything. Crystal balls, you know. I mean, how long has crystal balls been in our psyche? And what a great way of just sort of losing yourself in an image to shut your mind up to let the voice of spirit come forward. But yeah, Ouija board, again, because it has that appeal for kids, because it's got that interactive element, you know, something moving, you know, the drama of it all and everything. So you can see the appeal, but yeah, it's not.
You're spot on there, Lawrence, because I've dealt with some kids, youngsters, teenagers coming to me because they play at night, you know, not that they're gothics, you know, they're like, they dress up and they play with the Ouija board, and they've come to me because there again, it's all the dramatics. It's all, it moves, and they all start getting hysterical, and they build up the energy, and it just builds up and builds up.
Yeah,
I think the youngsters who use it should be very careful.
Definitely. Leanne here, and she's saying she's taught by an amazing medium how to use the spirit board. And he taught me, as with every tool we use, it's the intention it is used with. It's very true. Right. Everything boils down to intent, does it not? I'm going to get up there and have the best night I've ever had working on platform, and hopefully it does. I'm going to think, oh God, you know, tonight's going to be awful because the people in here, the committee's all at each other's throats, you know. Oh my God! And you get up there and you have a mediocre night. Surprise, surprise. Anyway, my darling, what are you looking at?
Who?
You. Did you stop saying who? Because it's only me and you here. I
can only look one way, and that's forward. I'm just looking in your aura there.
Get out of my aura. How rude. Did you ask? No. Stop it.
That's another thing. Should we ask to read each other's auras, or should we just go ahead and do it?
Definitely. I over the last few 3 years, 4 years, I've worked an awful lot more with my psychic side, and I am really enjoying it. It's a very useful tool in certain areas. But I have had now 2 instances where somebody has been sort of like probing a bit psychically. But what people tend to forget is it's a door that once you open it, you can go both ways through it. So when I've picked that up from somebody, I've just gone in and met them and gone, yeah, can I help you? Because if you do that again, I'll be over here and break that chair over your head. You know, and you can see a physical reaction to it because you just go, no, you don't do that. How dare you? If you want to know something about me, come and ask.
Yeah. That's true. I mean, I do it so much; it doesn't interest me to do anything like that, really, because I think once when you're new at it and you start learning, you sort of tend to do it all the time. But when you've been doing it a long time, you just shut it off, don't you? And you're not really interested in sort of reading other people's auras and doing things like that, unless you're working.
Yeah. Again, it comes down to intent. It's everything. Everything we got is how we use it. If I'm going to dig around in somebody and find their weak spot, well, that's really not the best intent in the world. However, when I'm working as a healer, I will, without conscious thought, go, oh, okay, I see what I'm getting here. That's fine, right? We need to do this or we need to do that. It's just a natural ability. It's like speech. You can stand there and give a wonderful speech. It will bring healing, reconciliation, upliftment to people with words. We can also deliver words that will have everybody at each other's throats within 5 minutes and, you know, ganging up on the minorities and trying to kill each other. It's how it's used.
That's right. That's right. And also it's discretion as well. I think it's really important, and invading people's privacy as well.
Yeah.
Because you don't have to have them there to do it. They could be the other side of the world, and you can still link into someone's aura and find things out about them. So, yeah. As they say, there's no time. Everything's going together.
And
it's interesting. Don't you think that's a good subject to talk about? That they say there's no time in spirit. There's no past. There's no future. It's all going together at one time.
Yeah. That is an interesting, as I was saying earlier, the more we work and develop, the more our perception of the spirit world and understanding of what goes on changes as well. You know, there is no time, so everything's happening at once. So is a past life experience a past life, or is it another life, but we just happen to be living at this time as well? It's just like...
That's interesting, because when my daughter, you know, I don't know if I said she's a medium, but when she was younger, I think she was about 11, she came to me and she didn't know anything about spiritualism or anything. She came to me and said, Mum, my twin sister came to see me and we swapped places because I needed to help her. I said, what do you mean your twin sister? She said, well, my double. She came to see me and she needed my help where she was, so we swapped over.
Hmm.
Now that's very interesting, coming from a child to say that.
I had it once with my doorkeeper. I'd gotten very familiar, very comfortable with his appearance and everything. And then one day, this different person, but it was him, was there. And I'm like, I know it's you, but why are you different? What's going on? And he said, oh, I've gone into another incarnation to be able to help you better at this time. And I was like, okay, that's interesting. So when people say, oh, my guides keep changing, are you sure? Are you sure it's just not your same guy going in through different life experiences to work with you at this time?
Now, that
would be a very long evening.
That's interesting.
Anyway, darling, for goodness sake, I'm going to get her nappies. Thank you, Sandra. Been an absolutely lovely evening.
For having me again.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you, everybody who has attended tonight. Been a wonderful, wonderful evening. Next week, maybe a pre-recorded Lyceum night. This is due to the fact we have the wonderful Kim Moore-Cullen here next weekend, who will be taking a workshop on the Saturday. And after which, we're going to put our feet up. Simple as that. So next week, as I say, maybe a pre-recorded, or it may be an evening hosted by the lovely Jack, because I haven't asked him yet. So we'll wait and see on that. See if he does the Paul voluntary thing. We've got a few Lyceum coming up. 2nd of September, we have Bruno from Portugal and Ron from Florida talking about different countries' practices and approaches with spiritualism. And going forward into October, we have Jackie Wright with us, the president of the Spiritualist National Union. So quite a few interesting nights coming up. Just subscribe to our Facebook page or check it out on, it's on the Facebook page for the Lyceum nights. So thank you, everybody. Sandra, thank you.
And thank you. And thank you, everybody else.
I hope you haven't got a chewed up Amazon man at the bottom of your stairs. Have you got your drive finished yet, or is that still in? No,
that'll be finished on Wednesday.
Yeah, brilliant. Well, no, you'll be able to get your skateboard out again.
Yeah, that's right.
Thank you, everybody, and have a wonderful, wonderful evening. Don't forget to our divine service tomorrow is being streamed live on Facebook and YouTube. And we have Paul Brereton with us, who is new to our platform here. He's got a lot of experience within spiritualism, and he works an awful lot over in Germany, but he's recently moved to the UK to Glastonbury. So we're looking forward to his first time here at Paul. In the meantime, have a great night.
Night, everybody.